Welcome to Sounds and States, the It's Complicated edition. The current war in Iran and the Middle East obviously dominates the news, Iranian politics, economics, and society. However, my goal here is to provide background and historical context for Iran. The war and its consequences will be addressed in a separate discussion. Iran is what we think of when we think of Islamic fundamentalism. It has a complex and often tense international relations with not only its Middle Eastern neighbors, but also with the world as a whole. It faces ongoing internal protests and threats to regime change, and is an example of economic collapse and the resource curse of oil. Geographically, Iran has one of the largest reserves of oil in the world. Its population is majority urban due to massive changes in farming and employment beginning in the 1960s. Cities like the capital, Tehran, have begun facing dramatic water shortages as well, as decades of mismanagement and dam projects and added environmental factors complicate this issue. Following decades of economic growth, complicated by connections with the UK and US, the Shah attempted to both modernize and westernize Iran in the 1960s. This created a backlash from conservative religious leaders, eventually leading to the revolution of 1979, establishing the current theocratic Islamic Republic under the Ayatollah Khomeini. The hostage crisis and war with Iraq in the 1980s created a growing distrust and hatred of the West, and the US specifically. 2009 saw the beginning of an era of protests, including the Arab Spring in 2011 and mass protests in 2022 against the increasingly oppressive government. Protests have been put down with increasing violence, and the government continues to exercise strict control of society. Iran's government essentially exists on two levels: the religious and the secular. The head of state is the supreme leader, and he is just that, with his word as final on all state matters. He is chosen by the assembly of experts whose elections are screened by the Guardian Council. In fact, all elected positions, president and parliamentary, are heavily screened and vetted as well. The court system is based on the Constitution, but the Quran and Sharia law guide all decisions. The courts are also used to brutally enforce a rule by law to control dissent and opposition. Iran is better known historically as Persia, with its name changing in the 20th century. Iranians are also a majority Shiite Muslim, unlike the Sunni majority in the rest of the Middle East, which creates a lot of tension and conflict between those two groups. Political parties are relatively weak and fluid, as politics are dominated and managed by the religious leadership of the country, and elections are carefully screened and managed by the religious leadership as well. A reliance on oil has led to a lack of economic diversification, and the conditions created by sanctions, because of Iran's nuclear program in particular, have created widespread poverty and unemployment. Religious organizations dominate other NGOs, and others are heavily monitored and screened and censored. Protests, the media, free speech are all also heavily monitored and limited. In the future, Iran faces internal challenges due to their economic chronic inflation and unemployment. Their dependence on oil revenues have historically limited diversity and growth, and protest movements since 2020 have begun to focus more on regime change than just basic reforms. Externally, ongoing sanctions in response to their nuclear weapons program and alliances with terrorist organizations have crippled their economy and trade. The government continues to conflict with surrounding countries in the Middle East, Israel in particular, and any of their allies. And obviously, the current war has created more complications to all of this. Thanks for watching. Copies of this presentation and other course country basics can be found on Substack for Sounds and States, and be sure to check out the other course country videos here on the YouTube channel.